Hello and welcome to Public Conscience, the anti-corruption program produced by the Progressive Impact Organization for Community Development, PRIMOG. I am Chidozie Ogbonnaya with Ada Obiabumu.
Thank you for joining us. The spelling of PRIMOG is PRIMORG.
On Public Conscience, we seek to evolve a corruption-free society by drawing government and citizens' attention to corruption reports and issues for prompt democratic actions against them. We also promote integrity by amplifying rare cases of the display of honesty by public and private individuals. We appreciate the MacArthur Foundation for supporting the production of this program.
Our focus on today's program is on the need to drastically reduce the occurrence of violence and irregularities during elections in Nigeria.
Then some Nigerians may have moved on from the issues that dominated the conduct of the 2023 presidential election, which produced President Bola Tinubu as the winner. Recall that after the February 2023 presidential poll, reports by some foreign and locally based observer groups say the exercise was marred by violence, voter intimidation, and irregularities, an assertion that the independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, strongly disagreed with.
In trying to set the record straight, a 10-month-long report by Center for Collaborative Investigative Journalism examination with 20 journalists published recently found widespread incidences of brutality around the country during the 2023 presidential poll. The findings revealed a pattern of violence that crippled voter turnout and raised troubling concerns about future elections. The bottom line is that elections in Nigeria have a high propensity of being marred by violence and irregularities, which is dangerous for any democracy. After the 2023 general election, off-cycle elections in Bayelsa, Imo, and Kogi were not free from violence and irregularities, according to reports, as Edo State and Ondo State governorship elections are held on September 21st and November 16, 2024. Achieving violence-free, fair, and credible polls must be our top priority.
Certainly. But today's program will discuss the impact of violence and irregularities in elections and the role of government, the political parties, citizens in curbing the ugly trend. For you out there, how much impact do you think intimidation and suppression of voters are having on elections in Nigeria? What are the factors driving violence before and during elections? How do you think we can achieve a violence-free election in Nigeria? Is the consequence of electoral violence strong enough to deter people? And how important is the role of politicians, political parties, and citizens in achieving peaceful polls in Nigeria? Who has the biggest responsibility of addressing election violence and irregularities in Nigeria?
Be ready to join us through phone and text messages during this conversation. The WhatsApp phone line to send your message to is 0902 265 6167. That is 0902 265 6167. Please indicate your name and your location when sending your message. This number is for messages only.
Please begin to send your messages as soon as possible to 09022656167, and that is 09022656167. We will give out the numbers to call shortly.
And if you just joined us, we are looking at an investigative report done by 20 journalists asserting that the 2023 presidential election was affected by violence, intimidation, and irregularities against the stance of the Independent National Electoral Commission. Let me also let you know that we invited INEC to join us, and we are hopeful that they would honor our invitation.
Absolutely. We are expecting our guest to join us. That is the Abuja Bureau Chief of the cable online newspaper, Yekin Akinwale, and Faith Wadishi, the Executive Director of Center for Transparency Advocacy, to join us shortly. But like we said in our opening remarks, it's certain that we are not out of the woods
Not at all.
when it comes to electoral violence and irregularities that always, raise their ugly head during our elections?
Yes, unfortunately, we keep saying that democracy, though we have been in this stage for more than 10 years, but then some will say it's still more than 20, it's still a teeming democracy. But if you look at the challenges that have marred our election, talking about irregularities and violence, unfortunately, it is still very evident, and this in its own way has affected the turnout of voters. But joining us to x-ray some of these issues, like my colleague said, is Faith Nwadishi. Thank you so much for joining us.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
All right. It's good to have you join us this morning, and we are looking at electoral violence and irregularities that seem to mar our elections in Nigeria. A report before us here says that beyond what INEC claimed, that a lot happened in the 2023 presidential election, a lot of irregularities, skirmishes, and violence, during that election. But let's get your reaction on this investigation and help us understand why electoral violence and irregularities still feature prominently in Nigerian elections.
Thank you very much. I think it's a very straightforward answer to that. There is an institution or an agency that is responsible for protecting lives and property in peace time and out of peace time, especially during elections, and that's the security agency led by the police. The police is a lead security agent that takes care of issues around electoral violence, ensuring that people come out to exercise their franchise in a peaceful environment. So when you have an agency that has not lived up to its responsibility in such a case, what you will have is breakdown of law and order, and definitely there will be violence. So, for instance, when you look at the election, you have different stakeholders playing different roles. And that's what I think that citizens should understand. You have, for instance, the politicians who are the overall beneficiaries of the entire process of an election. You have the security agencies led by the police, ensure that people come out and vote and they are not intimidated. You have INEC that prepares and puts in place facilitates the electoral process or the election process itself. You have the citizens who come out to vote, who come out to decide who votes, to decide who takes the ballot or who becomes elected. So all of these people have their roles to play in an election. And we have seen that increasingly along the value chain of our electoral processes, the politicians are the ones who pay for us to go to the polling unit and disrupt elections. Even when you have security agents in that place, they don't do anything. So you walk up to a security agent. As I'm talking to you, I'm preparing to go to a day for the next election. I am on ground. I see something, an infraction happening. I walk up to the security agent who is on ground to say this infraction is happening. And he says he cannot take my report except the INEC official who is saddled with giving out ballot papers, facilitating the election process, comes to report that there is an infraction happening. So when you continue to have that, definitely you will have violence in our elections. And I think people should at this time begin to call out the politicians and the security agencies for not doing their work properly to protect lives and property during elections.
So, if I get you right, when we want to look at this or put this in perspective, who does this responsibility fall squarely to ensure that we have less violence in our elections?
The police. Security agents, the police. The Constitution says that. The Police Act says that. They are the ones. But they decide to treat a crime differently on election day as they will treat it on an honorary day. So, for instance, somebody infringes on your fundamental right as a civilian, and when there's no election, you go to the police, they come around to arrest the person. So why would the police decide to choose that on election day, those laws no longer happen, or those situations are different from election? Somebody who is breaking the law anywhere day. It's breaking the law, and it's the responsibility of the security agents to make sure that they bring that person to book. It's so simple. It falls squarely for issues around violence, peace during elections. It falls squarely on the security agents.
Okay.
Okay, having identified there's a challenge in terms of the police not acting as they should on election day, I know that your group and some other CSOs are active when it comes to election in terms of engaging with citizens or voters to ensure that they vote. Do you think we have actively engaged with the police to ensure that they take up some of these challenges and ensure that we have a violent-free election?
Well, just last week we had a stakeholders meeting in Benin where we had a very good crop of security agents, the Deputy Commissioner of Police, the Army, DSS, the security agents were there at that meeting. And for every election we do this to engage them. But each time you engage, even the other security agents will tell you that it is the police that is the lead agency when it comes to issues of security in elections. I think, in my opinion, that as civil society, we have not engaged very seriously the security agents on this issue of election. Last year, when we went to Owerri to observe the election, we actually met with the DIG, Samba. He was the leader of the security agents that took care of the election at Owerri, Imo State. I was there. And I brought up this question and I asked him, I said, why is it that on election day, the police decide to treat crime differently from treating crime the way it is? For instance, it is criminal for anybody to come to disrupt an electoral process. It is criminal for anybody to sell or buy votes. It is criminal for anybody to come to attempt, to intimidate the INEC officials or even observers or even citizens. It is criminal for anybody to attempt to snatch the ballot box. It is criminal for anybody to even come on election day and begin to canvass your vote. And you see all of these things happening. As an observer or even as a citizen, you go to the security agent who is on ground and he tells you he cannot do anything except that INEC official who is responsible for giving out ballot papers and making sure that people vote is the one. How is it possible that somebody who is in can see what is happening around the entire vicinity? When on an ordinary day, you and I know that if, for instance, somebody breaks into your home, somebody is intimidating you, you cannot, even without the police being there, you can go to the police station and report, and the person will be arrested. Why do we have to treat crime differently? Is electoral crime different from crimes that are committed on different days? That's the issue. That's the point that I'm saying here.
So like you said,
on the field, yes.
So, like you said, crime is crime, and it should be treated as same, especially on election day. But some will be wondering, some Nigerians will be wondering, because can INEC, the electoral body, actually come out of this kind of conversation smelling like a rose, in the sense that they are also culpable in some ways. How do we start to help this organization that organizes our elections as well as police?
So, what you are discussing is electoral violence.
Yes.
We're not discussing the electoral process.
Yes, to help them to do their work better.
What you have asked me is who should be responsible to ensure that there is no violence on election day. It is not INEC that should be responsible. It is the police and security agents that should be responsible. Let's put it squarely where it is.
But you say they have to get clearance from an INEC official on the election day before they take action.
Okay, so let me tell you something. You are in the radio station. Something happens outside your station. And the security man who is at the radio station there comes to report to say, this is what is happening. And the police officer says, I will not take any action until the people who are in the studio come to tell me that something happened outside.
Yes, I get you.
That's what is happening. So you have a place that has been condoned of as this place is our polling unit. You have 2 or 3 INEC officials who are looking at voters. You have to check your name. You have to make sure that your name is on the voters register. There's another person that goes to accredit you. There's another person that gives you ballot paper to go and vote. And within the vicinity of that place, there's violence happening. if there's somebody who eyewitness to that is telling the police this has happened, and the police says, until that person who is giving you ballot paper comes to tell me that this has happened, I will not take action. That's what is happening.
I get you. Just finally on this note, is the position of police to always go back to INEC officials to clarify before they take action? Is it part of the Electoral Act or anything? On what grounds are they doing that?
It is not. That is what citizens need to know. We need to call them out.
Okay.
Why is it that crime on election day is defined differently from crime that happens on different times? It is not. So this is where the problem is. So it is convenient for you to say, unless this person reports that this crime happened, I cannot take. Even when you see it happening yourself, you cannot go and arrest that person to say this should not happen. My brother, I have been in an election where vote buying was done in the presence of police officers, very close to police trucks and vans. I have also seen a situation whereby party agents will come, collect money, and begin to share to the security agents that are on the field. So what do you expect them to do? They have already been compromised. So if there's any particular party that is dominant in a particular place, you will see they will allow whatever happens there. But it's not the case. That's why I'm saying that it is important that all of us, citizens, civil society, media, we need to call a spade and call them out. Because, for instance, if there is violence in an electoral place, for instance, as an observer, I want to take cover and run it because what I'm doing is covering the election. I want to be safe. If you're a reporter, you want to be safe so that you can report another one. If you're an INEC official, you also want to be safe. But the security agents that is there will turn the other eye and not do anything about it. You can imagine if you have security agents who will arrest people because they have done this, and maybe high-profile people. The next election, people will be careful what they do. But people will also be careful what they do.
Okay, now let's bring in another part. Like you said, beneficiaries of the election, that is talking about the political parties. Do you think that we need to engage more with some of these politicians to caution their supporters who perpetrate some of these acts on election day?
Yes, we should engage them. We should actually look at the issue of political party campaign financing is a huge one that nobody is talking about. What do they do with this money? You see that the situation whereby an election is coming, those days, you will see people going from house to house, community to community. It's not this jamboree that they go to hold and say they are going to election and having it at state headquarters or local government headquarters. Those days, you will see real political campaigning happening. But what are the political parties doing now? They are amassing money to buy votes. Those people who go to the polling units to cause mayhem and cause violence, they don't go there free of charge. They go there because somebody has paid them to do that. Who has paid them? Is it you and I? Is it the observer that has paid them to do that? So the politicians, we need to be able to, as citizens, engage politicians to say, you are the beneficiaries of this process. Why is it that you're doing everything possible to thwart this process? We have seen in past elections where politicians will give white handkerchiefs to people, tie on their hands. Talks will be there. They will not even allow people to come close to the polling unit where they are having that election. It is the politicians that do that. It is the politicians. So our electoral processes can work when we have the security agents doing their work as when they are supposed to do, as well as the politicians understanding that this power is not a do or die. You don't have to kill the people before you will come up to govern them.
Absolutely.
Allow the people's will to prevail.
Absolutely.
So that at the end of the day, you can be accountable to the same people, and the people will know that they have the power to hire and fire you.
Absolutely. And let's wrap up on this note, if we can do this in 1 minute, because a do and undo elections, they are both approaching, they are fast approaching. And just to get what you think that the lessons the electoral body, INEC, must have learned over time, and even your, let me call it advice to the state governments and citizens of those states as they conduct elections this year.
My first advice is to citizens. The power of every election is in the hand of citizens because you have the ballot, your voters card. Your voters that is what happened. Then the politicians should understand that the people they are paying money to go and cause mayhem or violence in election are people's children. And I keep saying that these politicians, their children, you don't even see their children on election day. The highest you can see is either their spouses that follow them to go and vote. You don't see their children who are able 18 years and above who come out to vote. They are not there. So people who take this money and say they want to go and cause, to think about themselves. Because at the end of the day, you have this situation where people come back and say, oh, they gave us money, we supported them, they are not in power, they are not remembering. They will not remember you. People will just die. People will be harmed and nothing will happen. But for me, I think that the security agents should come out and do the right thing, especially now that the president has given an extended tenure to the Inspector General of Police. The Inspector General of Police should live up to his billing and ensure his people on the field do that. Then finally also, there should be better signage between the security agents. There's always quarrelly on the field, and then signage should learn from the lessons of the past and ensure that their staff, their adult staff, especially the electoral officers at the local government, are brought to book if they do the wrong thing on election day.
All right, Umar, thank you so much for your input this morning. They are very valuable, and we can just wait and see what will happen. We know that these things, we have to make sure that our elections get better. Faith Mwadishi is the Executive Director, Center for Transparency Advocacy. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
All right, if you just join us, it is Public Conscience, a production of the Progressive Impact Organization for Community Development, Primorg. And we are looking at the need or the urgency to curb election violence. And this is coming from a report, investigative report done by a consortium. We'll call it a collaboration of journalists. You know, they came together to do that report, saying that there was more violence and brutality in the 2023 presidential election as claimed, as against what was claimed by the electoral body. And joining us is Yekin Akinwale, who is the Abuja Bureau Chief of the Cable Online newspaper. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me here. Thank you.
And permit me to say Happy New Year.
It's been a while.
Happy New Year in September.
Definitely.
It doesn't matter. So let us into why the center, that's the Center for Collaborative Investigative Journalism, why you invested 10 months into this investigation.
Well, thank you very much, and thank you, listeners, Tom, and thank you for having me here. Well, if you look at the last general election, it was one that every Nigerian was waiting for. Nigeria wanted a change of guard. They wanted a change of power. So when it happened, a lot of things also happened during the elections. However, not everything that happened during the elections got reported. Not many Nigerians knew what transpired during the election day. So CCIJ decided to bring different journalists together. We were 4 on this project. So we took a deep dive into the issues of electoral violence, voters, suppression and intimidations, and then the findings were very shocking, as you could see in the report. So we felt it was very important that some of the things that ordinarily would not be given priority attention in the media, especially the electoral violence and how it impacts the outcome of the election, should actually be laid there, so that going forward, when we'll be having another election, a lot of things that have been pointed out in the report could be taken care of by all the concerned authorities. And what do I mean here? We have the electoral body, we have the security agencies, we have the political parties, we have the politicians, and of course we have Nigerians. So everybody will know where he or she is affected by the outcome of the report, and then we expect that we'll get a better election in 2027. That's why.
So you are thinking about the future more than what is happening, what has happened.
Yes, who does not learn from history is doomed to perish. So we have to learn from our mistakes and then, to get a better future. I think that is the essence.
Yeah, I understand you, because while you're progressing, you need to take a break, a pause, and look back. And you can send us a message on 090-2265-6167.
And I know very much that the story, the report is voluminous, and we may not be able to dissect all here, but let's get tidbits. The punchy outcome of your report, investigation, those things that we need to know, where the suppressions and intimidations happen, where the skirmishes happen much, and are they even strong enough to derail an election?
Yeah, thank you very much for this question. Let me start with, if you check the report, something should strike you, and it is about the percentage of the voters turnout, which is 27%. And it happens to be the lowest since Nigeria returned to democracy in 1999.
Even when we have over 90 million, over 80 million people that are registered.
Yes. So that should tell you something. That even though Nigerians were so excited about going to the poll, but then not many people actually turn out. Why? Because of what has happened in the past. Because of what has happened before the election, the election violence, and then the fear that if they go out there to go and vote, then probably they could be attacked. A whole lot of campaign of intimidation had gone under. So people were not willing. And of course, on the day of elections, across many states in the country, voters were not allowed to exercise their rights. There were cases of violence, destruction, chasing of people away. So, and it turned out that only a very few people, according to the record, were able to
decide.
Yeah,
who
and it's supposed to be a popular participation of every adult who is 18 years and above.
I read in your report that even before election, there were individuals identified who threatened citizens that they must vote for a particular political party. And unfortunately, some of them, nothing happened, though I also saw that one of them went to court. That's in Kano State. And that, to an extent, also affected those who went out to vote. How do you think, or what do you think the security agencies should do going forward when there are evidence to this, that some certain people are threatening other citizens from voting?
Thank you very much. And that is why, anything that happens in Nigeria as the largest democracy in Africa, we're setting precedent for other African countries to see. So it behoves the security agencies, we have the police in this matter, that has the duty and responsibility of enforcing law. The laws are clear about the Electoral Act. Is also clear about what is to be done for whoever incites violence or whoever intimidates or threatens people, not allowing them to exercise their rights. So it is for us, the media, to point out this, and then it is for the affected authorities, the police, the judiciary, the electoral body, to take decisive actions against people who are found when there are clear-cut evidence against those individuals. Then people should be called to answer questions, and then where they are found guilty, they should be prosecuted. Arraigned in court and then prosecuted. If they are found guilty, they should face the music. I think the agency that is involved, they know what to do.
You sounded the same. This is the same line. My earlier guest told. She was saying that the police has the biggest responsibility, in fact, that it falls on their table to enforce these laws. So how do you think we can achieve violence-free election in Nigeria? Is it achievable? Is it a mirage? What can we do? But other countries are having it, at least something near perfect. Can't we have it? Join the conversation. Let's get back to our guest, Yekin Akinwale, who is the bureau chief of the Cable Online newspaper. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Let me ask this question. Is there a particular state that did not record any incidents of violence?
Well, the way to answer that question is if you look at the map of Nigeria that we used on.
I saw lots of colors
So
scattered around.
So where we use the red color, it indicates violence, and that if you look at the map, it's a widespread phenomenon on the map. So you can hardly point out a particular state in the country where it didn't happen. Not even the Federal Capital Territory. This is of power. There is no way people will not be, intimidated. People will not be harassed. I understand. There were some cases in maybe Bavaria Council, in Guagualada, and some other outskirts. If you look at the map, the thing speaks for itself. There is nowhere in Nigeria that you will not have at least one incidence of electoral violence. It seems to be part of our.
It's becoming like something
like
norm.
Our electoral process.
Let's take this call. Hello.
Hello?
Yes. Good morning. Your name and where you're calling us from?
My name is Mr. Pascal. I'm reaching you this morning from Carol.
Let's hear you, Pascal.
Thank you very much. Yes, I've been listening to you very quite attentively, and all you've been saying is business related. Let me say that if you are looking for someone, a person who is culpable when it comes to electoral violence, you shouldn't look at any other direction instead of it. You have to look at the direction of the politicians. It is the politicians, not even the police. Yes, so I know that the police, according to the Electoral Act, it is the job of the police, the security agencies, and the police. That is the police precisely. So make sure that the electoral, there is no crime, nothing violent, there is no crime committed during elections. And if you look at it quite analytically, you will understand that it is the politicians themselves who, according to the first person that spoke this morning, are the beneficiaries of the election. Although, even if at least in a Senate climb, they are not even supposed to be the beneficiaries of election, but the electorate. But let us just assume without conceding that they are the beneficiaries. Now, if the politicians don't compromise the security agencies, if the politicians don't give money to thugs to go and finance ballot boxes, if the politicians don't give their agents, don't compromise the agents of their political parties, you know that you have a crisis of violent pre-election. If every politician can turn the P2B way up, we are not giving no shishi. It is corruption that brings about violence in the election. And if it will be called, it is the politicians that will change their attitude towards election and make election to human face, just as it is being practiced in advanced countries.
Okay.
Thank you very much. God bless you all.
Thank you so much for your perspective. In this, our caller is saying, is putting the whole blame at the foot of politicians. Who do you think that, we are trying to look at the root cause of violence in our electoral system?
Well, you cannot entirely blame politicians. Of course, they are part of the process. But every party to an electoral process is culpable. One, you have the government that oversees the whole process. Then you have the electoral body that also organizes the election. Then you have the security agency that is saddled with the responsibility of ensuring that there is security, there is safety of voters, and then the electoral officials. The security agency is to ensure that the election is violence-free. Then you have the politicians that ordinarily should have the confidence that with their manifesto, they should be able to win the confidence and thrust of the electorate.
What you are saying is would be, should be.
Yes.
These are.
But the ideal situation is different.
So that is what I'm saying. In reality, It is not what we have. So that is why I'm saying everybody, you cannot singularly say it is only the politician.
What of the citizens?
I'm going there. So you also have citizens that are also culpable of collaboration with this, because people who are fomenting the trouble, the people who are being used are not from the space.
Yes,
they are all
drop down.
You know, when we say political talks, who are political talks? They are people like you and I. They are part and parcel of the society. They are part and parcel of the system. So if you do not make yourself available, you will not be used. Then poverty is also, it's like kind of weaponizing poverty. So when people are hungry and then they are available to use to do the bidding of the politicians. So poverty is one. Then the high level of illiteracy is also a factor. If people understand their right, they know this is what I'm supposed to do and this is what I'm not supposed to do. You cannot come and say, hey, take this 5,000 naira and then come and fight for me. Then I can ask you that what happens to your own kid? You understand? Do you think this is
borrow yourself some sense?
Yes. So every one of us, all of it, we have to be sincere. Everybody shares in the blame of electoral violence. The political parties, politicians, the citizens, the agencies, everybody.
Even the verbal war that goes on before the election happens. All those things set the stage for the violence.
The pre-election campaign, all the tirades, war of words between politicians, they set the tone for what to expect during the elections. And for instance, before 2023 elections, there was some pre-election violence in some states that some people were killed, people were being, mowed down, and nobody even talked about that.
Let's start looking at how do we nip this on the board, because whether we like it or not, we are not going to run away from this country, and democracy has come to stay in our climb.
Please go ahead.
So that is our ultimate goal for doing this report. Now, how do we get it better? We want accountability. People should be held accountable for their words.
Let me just take this call and come back to you.
Please go ahead.
Okay. Like your guest there is saying that people, all of us share it. I did not believe him that myself I did not share on it because I've not collected any money from any politician and I've not aided any corruption on any corruption based on doing politics. I'm not among, I'm exempting myself. The reason is because I'm not in authority. The police or the security agents who are supposed to do the right thing, the INEC who are supposed to do the right thing, those people in authority who are supposed to do the right thing, they are not doing it.
Okay.
They are not doing it. Thank you.
Kenneth, just to say that you've not taken money from anybody to vote or caused any problem during election, but you agree with me that people do those things.
Yes, people do it.
Okay.
That is what put us in this situation we are now.
Okay.
That on APC.
Okay.
Right.
I get you. Thank you for your input.
Thank you so much, Kenneth.
All right.
Can please go ahead and conclude.
So, as I was saying, our ultimate goal is for us to have a better electoral process in the future. And what do I mean is that we want INEC to do better. INEC is saddled with the responsibility of conducting election. We want them to do better. We want the police to enforce the law. We do not want a situation where there's violence and then the police officers at the polling booth are folding their hands and looking at people being harassed and intimidated, as witnessed in the last elections. So we want the police to be able to do their work without let or hindrance. Then we also want a situation where people who have been found guilty are charged in court and are prosecuted, we are found guilty. We want our judiciary to be able to hold people account so that when you make a scapegoat of offenders, then it will serve as a deterrent to would-be offenders in the future. It is No more, no less. If everybody, as I said, if the government put its leg on the ground that yes, we want this system to be sanitized, government has the power, the resources, then the willpower is what is needed. That for once we want to have an electoral process that is devoid of crisis, that is devoid of irregularities. What does that mean? People who are there are you and I, Nigerians. So all of us, we have to rededicate ourselves to the Nigerian project. We have to search our conscience and say, yes, we want to get it right. 1999 to this moment, how many years of democracy? We are still circling, on a spot. We've not made progress. If we make 1 feet progress, we make like 1,000 backward. No. We want a situation whereby people will go to the judiciary and within a very short period of time, they've been able to get justice. That is what we want.
So, let me ask you this. Maybe we'll anchor on this question, because a lot of people believe that for Nigeria's election to be improved, free from blemish and violence, as we are talking about, that the political class and political parties must commit class suicide, in the sense that they should play clean game and not dirty game, and also influence this, use poverty. You talked about, weaponizing poverty. What is your advice to politicians? Because it is also a country that belongs to them, and if it overboils or boils over tomorrow, it affects everybody.
Thank you very much. We've not really engaged in issues-based or issues-driven politics. Democracy.
No ideology.
No ideology. Thank you. So party is not different from party B. And what we keep hearing since I was a child, when they would say, we'll provide you road, we'll provide you electricity, we'll provide you water. I say the same thing that the 21st century Nigerian politicians are still using as their own manifesto. Why they see their contemporaries in other developed countries, the way politics is being practiced. So we want a paradigm shift from what has been, in the past to what is now the global practice. The global practice is, as I said earlier, all of us have to do a soul search. How do I contribute my quota to the project called Nigeria, not lip service? When you say, you act. You have to act what you say. So politicians should recommit themselves to ensuring that the next election will not be a violence reading.
Absolutely.
People should be allowed to choose their representatives. Most people would say the people we have now are not their representatives. People should be allowed to go to the ballot, cast their vote, and then allow the results to come out, so that people will say, yes, this is our government. And that is what they call a popular government.
We'll keep this conversation going. It is one that we cannot stop because it's part of our lives. Election, politics, democracy is a part of our lives, but a very good place to drop the anchor on today's program.
Yes, and I hope that all the stakeholders involved will do the needful, talking about INEC and then the security operatives whose duty it is to ensure that we have a violent-free election. Thank you so much. Please visit our news website, primorgnews.org. That is primorgnews.org for all the details of our reports and interviews. Visit our website, www.primorg.org, to get all the information about Primorg.
And you can watch our videos on Primorg TV, our YouTube channel. Please subscribe to get reminders when we have a new post. We appreciate our guests, the Abuja Bureau Chief of the Cable Online newspaper, Yekin Akinwale. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
All right. We also appreciate the Executive Director of Center for Transparency and Advocacy, Faith Wadishi. And thank you all for joining us today, for investing your time with us today. Public Conscience has the support of the John D. and Catherine T. MacArthur Foundation, committed to building a more just, violent, and peaceful world. Get more information about the foundation on its website, macfound.org.
Join us again here next week for another episode of Public Conscience. And remember to follow us on Facebook, X, formerly Twitter, at Official Primorg. I am Adelbi Obiabumo.
And remember that birth registration and birth certificates are free if your child is under 18. Help stop the corruption in birth registration, and do not pay for birth certificates. Also remember that you can give us information or hints about corrupt acts through our phone at 09022656167 or info@primorg.org. I am Chidozie Ogbonnaya. God bless Nigeria.